What about when you're in deep sleep or when you're dreaming? Is there science when you're dreaming? Is there gravity? Are there atoms? Are there molecules? Is there physical barriers when you're dreaming? There could be, but there also couldn't. They don't have to be. Right? You've experienced dreams where you're flying around, there's no gravity, you're walking through walls and this sorts of stuff. Time is warped and all different. Even logic is different in dreams. Conventional linear logic doesn't even apply in dreams. Weird stuff happens that doesn't even make logical sense.
Yeah, that's really hard to actually parse in dreams. It's really hard to notice in dreams when you wake up, right? When you wake up from a dream, when you wake up, I wake up, maybe this is just me, I'll talk about my own experience. I dream every night and I write down my dreams every morning. And it's very interesting to feel like there are times where you can get very, very, very crystal clarity on what happened in the dream and the sequence of the dream, which is not linear. Some dreams don't happen in a linear fashion. The logical whatever things, it doesn't work in that sense. And characters are not the same character. You aren't the same you. The perspective changes, all that kind of stuff. It's very bizarre. And it's weird to notice, to feel the construction. There are times where you can be very, very crystal clear of how the dream happened in a non-linear fashion. Logic was all up in the air. Characters are changing randomly. You are changing perspective randomly. You aren't you. But then when you try to... I dream about Destiny a lot. I haven't, not in a while, because I haven't watched a lot of Destiny recently, but because of all political stuff. So that's been great. But when you try to, I write down my dreams. So when I write them down, I can feel, it's so weird. I can feel myself shoehorning all of the experiences back into some sort of linear, logical, sort of typical normal experience where characters are the same character and the experience happened in some sort of linear fashion. And I can personally actually feel that process happening. And sometimes once that happens, I'm stuck. Like I can't even imagine, I can't even go back. Like I know that wasn't how it worked, but I can't return to that loose perspective where I'm not clinging on to logic and physics happening in the particular way, and object permanence or character permanence or however you want to refer to that. It's hard to once you get to some sort of logical framing, you can't go back. For me, it's difficult to go back. Sometimes I can, sometimes I have that crystal clarity. I can feel myself trying to make it make more sense, and then I can get looser and go back to the normal crystal clarity. Anyway, it's interesting to, am I sweating? No. I am a little hot though. I think there's just a little bit of there's a reflection from the floor onto my face. Do it look like I'm sweating? No. This is what good hydration looks like, all right? This is what hydration looks like. What about non-dream sleep states and transitional states? They can be nice as well, but they're hard to remember. True. Yeah. Apparently you can become conscious in your dream states. In your non-dream states, rather, sleeping states. Apparently, you can remember your non-dream states as you're sleeping and become aware in those non-dream states. I've never had that experience. I've definitely been, oh, you're saying this stuff. Oh, kind of cool. I've been aware within my dreams. I don't remember being aware in my non-dream states. We can try to do that. I think that's something common in Tibetan Buddhism. Dream yoga, they have to be aware consistently throughout the entire night, even through the non-dream states. It's very interesting to me. Bizarre.
You see, that's because you're in a different state of consciousness.
Different state of consciousness, yeah. Oh, but yeah, see, logic doesn't work.
Why do you assume that this particular state of consciousness that you're in right now, that this is somehow an objective state of consciousness? That there's something special about this state as opposed to when you're drunk or as opposed to when you're sleeping?
And we have to recognize that when we're drunk, we filter everything. Like we have our normal state. Okay, I've never been drunk, so I can't say that. We have our normal state. Okay, I've been tea drunk. We have our normal state, and we evaluate the world in our normal ways. But then when you get tea drunk, you can't even imagine the way that you evaluate the world when you're in your sober state. Everything gets filtered into this tea drunk state, and you're like, holy cow, everything is, tea drunk. You don't know what it is. Tea drunk stuff. It's so different. You reevaluate the entire world into your current framework. You shoehorn everything back into the state that you're in. It's so difficult to be loose with it. And that same thing happens when you're sober. When you're sober, you sort of shoehorn your drunken state back into your sober state, and you sort of remove all the contextual whatever things that happen. You can't remember that. What's that? Basically saying you can remember slipping from wake to sleep. Oh, you can? Wow. I can't do that. Oh, I've never done that. I've never had a constant awareness from awaking into sleeping. Interesting. I've tried a couple times. Yeah, can't catch that moment. Yeah, that's interesting. I've certainly not fallen asleep. Just the slipping. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I've been aware of the slipping before. I get what you're saying. Like when your consciousness is loosening, you get the sort of like the thoughts that are becoming really, really weird and like not at all. They're not normal thoughts, right? They're just kind of random and spaced out. And then like consciousness sort of fades and expands. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But then there's like a moment where you actually go to sleep. I don't know what that moment is. I know the slipping though. Yeah. I think you can presumably be aware all the way throughout the entire process somehow. Unfortunately for me, I still have struggle with being aware of something but not trying to control it. So when if I'm like hyper aware of my thoughts and falling asleep, like a slipping, I start trying to control it and I lose that relaxation and I kind of just wake myself up. It's very difficult.
Whatever. Of course there's not.
Of course not.
It's completely relative.
Yes, it's relative.
There are thousands of different states of consciousness. Mm-hmm. You in your life have maybe only experienced 3 or 4 of them when you're sleeping, when you're drunk, when you're having sex, whatever.
I don't like this. I don't know about this. Leo, how do we do this? Okay, the way that we define the stages of consciousness is so you can't just say there's 3 different states of consciousness, all right? When you're sleeping, you go through many different states of consciousness. When you're awake, you go through so many different states of consciousness. When you're like talking, that's a different state of consciousness. And when you're listening, when you're sitting, and when you're standing, that's a different state of consciousness. When you're sitting, and now he's saying that there's some sort of qualitative, like very hard line difference between all these different states. Maybe he can better define it so we can understand a little bit more clearly. But being hungry, being moody is a different state of consciousness. Being satiated and being sort of like lazy, right? These are all different states of consciousness. But maybe he has a better way of defining. Maybe, I don't know. I wonder if a more smooth, gradual transition or whether it's some sort of a cliff. Oh yeah, that's a good. I don't know. You gotta find people who can do this, or try it yourself. Might take 10 years. But you can probably find out.
And the only reason you assume that science is real is because for 99% of your life, you're stuck in this one, we might call it the materialistic state of consciousness.
I don't even think that's necessary, right? You are right now in a consciousness that holds this materialism as the top of the hierarchy of always evaluation, and that's enough to make you think that's it.
That state of consciousness can change just like that.
Mm-hmm. But I'm agreeing.
Tomorrow you can die and your state of consciousness will completely change.
It sounded like I wasn't agreeing, but I'm agreeing.
You can take a psychedelic. Your state of consciousness will completely change. All of science will fly out the window.
Drink some tea.
See, scientists don't get this.
Changes.
Another problem within science